on KCBS News Time 1031. Well, feeling so much more than just tired at work, you could be experiencing burnout. Working too hard and too long could leave us detached and less efficient than we're accustomed to. And a lot of the time, the simple advice to just take a break doesn't always seem to do the trick. For a closer look at what contributes to burnout and what to do about it, we are joined live on the KCBS Ring Central Newsline by Dr. Dan Pelton. He's a clinical psychologist and author of the new book, Rethinking Employee Resilience. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great to be here.
So how do you know if you're feeling burnout at work?
Oh, that's a good question. In terms of a metaphor, it's kind of like the check engine lights on in your car, right? You just keep pushing and pushing, and then one day your car just kind of gives out. And what's interesting is the people that are most at risk are the people that are most engaged. So the highest performers are at highest risk for burnout. So what is defined actually is actually caused by chronic workplace stress. That's how it's defined. So the World Health Organization says it's the catalyst of burnout. And it looks in three different ways. So usually people start feeling exhausted, so emotionally, physically drained. You may be getting sick more often or have trouble sleeping. Then you start to become cynical, like this organization is terrible. I can't work here anymore. You feel so exhausted. And then it impacts your confidence. I'm not making an impact. I don't feel quite as useful. So if you're kind of losing your passion in your work and doubting your skills, and this sounds like you, there's some tools you can use. Online Psychology Today has a tool you can take to diagnose yourself. But I'll end with this. These are warning signs that something's broken in the workplace. Too often we blame the canary instead of fixing the toxic mind that's killing the canary. So we put all the pressure on the individual resilience instead of addressing the system, and that's really what I talk about in my book.
That's a good analogy. It's not the canary's fault. Well, what do employers need to do to make sure that the mind is not toxic?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a couple things. So when I looked at leaders around the world, what we tried to distill were what are some cultural drivers that can change a culture quickly. One of the biggest one was performance management. So I'll give you an example. There's one organization that if you're an employee, you're at your computer, you fill out your, quote, mood score, and it creates an algorithm, and it pushes it up to the leaders. And leaders, the top 150 executives, their bonuses are impacted by the employee mood scores. So how we collect data to change a culture is one way. How we craft jobs around people's strengths, that kind of sounds cliche, play to your strengths, but there's so much merit and value in that, and we call that job crafting. So if employees have to understand the skills that people bring and then craft and play to their strengths. So those are two. Job design is one of them, and the second one is around a reward system. There's a lot more, but those are just a couple sort of high-level things that I found.
Okay. Well, in our last 30 seconds, what advice do you have to people who are probably listening to this and saying, that's me, I'm feeling a little burnout, I'm feeling tired at work. Should they take that score evaluator? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I'd say first take an assessment, kind of figure out where you land. Do an emotional audit, in the beginning of the morning. What emotions are you feeling that day, and try to be able to distill some of the things that are driving your burnout. And the last thing I would say is this: we know that there are predictors of burnout. I'll just list them off rapid fire: workload, control, fairness, purpose, recognition, community. If you forgot them, you can Google them. But see and ask your team which of these is driving our burnout, and then you can create solutions to be able to address those issues.
All right. Dr. Dan Pelton, a clinical psychologist and author of Rethinking Employee Resilience. Thanks so much for your information.
My pleasure. Thank you.
KCBS News Time, 10:35.